Good afternoon. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our next installment in our virtual internship webinar series. I'm Danny Rubin. I'm your host today, and I'm the founder of our company, which is called Rubin. So glad to have all of you here. Raise your hand if you've been to one of our webinars before. Raise your hand in Zoom. Click that button. And raise your hand if this is your first time here. All right. Wonderful. Well, if you're new, returning, we're always grateful to have you here. And as a company, Rubin, what we provide is an online curriculum, lots of resources that teach how to write and speak with confidence. Teachers, show of hands, how many of your students send emails that often look like text messages? Show of hands, teachers. Few hands going up. And that's okay. We take that text behavior, we bring it over to our emails. Brooke Bell says not anymore. Well, she's used some of our materials before, some of our instruction. I guess that means it's working. So what we're going to do today, I want to offer you some resources, as we always do, some free resources to our new teachers so that you can bring some of these lessons into the classroom. And then we will bring in our special guest to talk about cybersecurity. So the first thing I'd like to do is share our screen. Let me get the slide, get my chat going so I can see your chats. Okay. This is, we offered this same resource at our last webinar on the world of the trade. So for the new folks, I want to offer it to all the new teachers. Okay, we have a set of worksheets and presentations, free, teaching email and text message etiquette. We have worksheets for identifying the parts of an email, why you need to capitalize the letter I, the best email closing lines, professional looking text messages, how to sign your name in cursive. Teachers, raise your hand if you think it's important that students know how to sign their name in cursive before they leave high school, college, out there in the world. Lots of hands. So it's a Google Doc of worksheets and presentations. You can teach this skill and then give students a worksheet to practice it hands-on. And then a checklist for how to give great online presentations. Learning how to prepare, what to say in the moment, how to use great body language as you're presenting. So lots of free resources we always like to give out to teachers so they can take these skills from today and make them real in the classroom. And if you are interested, as we always do, if you're interested in these resources, all you need to do, the teachers, okay, not the students, just the teachers here, please type the word interested into the chat with your email address. And if you are new, we will set up a brief phone call in the coming couple of days to help you understand how to use it in your unique classrooms, in your classes, okay? So we want to make it right for your situation. And we'll pass it all along, have a little, say a little hello. It's hard to do that in these webinars. So again, if you're returning, please request it, we'll send it along. If you're new, please request it. We'd love to chat quickly, say hello, and make sure you have what you need to teach these types of skills in whatever class it is you're teaching. So interested and your email address, and we will pass that along. And we'll return to this at the very end of the session too. Okay. And thank you for those who have commented. We passed along resources for months and months, and we really just want to put good stuff out there. Okay, so you can keep that coming. Get my chat going. Keep it coming, and we'll pass it along in the next couple of days. All right, something else. You can keep doing that. Let me move it on so we keep on schedule. Our next webinar, we always have a next one, right? And the next one's going to be really cool. We're going to explore the world of social media marketing. It's going to be Thursday, February 25th, 1:30 Eastern. Our guest will be Marnie Nathanson, who's the president of her own company called the Social Status Co. or Company. She has worked with MTV, Sesame Street, the Olympics, other really interesting brands. And she's going to talk to us about the latest and greatest in social media marketing and how to pursue a job in that field. How many students or teachers are interested in this topic? Show of hands. I know we have a cybersecurity crowd today, but anybody interested in this one? We have some hands going up. Great. So I hope you can join us, or teachers, please share this when you'll see it go out on next Monday, a big email. Please share this with your marketing teachers, with your DECA advisors, your FBLA, your everything that would resonate with this particular topic. We'd love to have them join us for social media marketing. And finally, everybody today, who's joining us live, and teachers, you can give this out if students watch it recorded. We're giving out a certificate of completion for being at our webinar today. So the certificate and the recording from today's session will go out in your email tomorrow morning, Thursday morning. Sometimes people email and say, where's that recording? Where's the recording? Or send the certificate and the recording on Thursday morning. So look out for that. So that's coming your way. So students can use this for their portfolio to show proof that they attended our events. All right. So one more thing I want to quickly share, and then we'll bring in our guests. I'll share my screen one more time. Here it is. Look at which screen do I have? All right. So for those who are new, get my chat open one more time. For those who are new, I want to explain very quickly what it is as a company we do. We have an online curriculum called Emerge. Some of the teachers here use our program and draw from it in different ways. And I'll skip right to the heart of the matter. We cover all kinds of different topics for communication: email etiquette, life skills, phone and video etiquette, networking emails, resumes, cover letters, internship and job-related email practice, LinkedIn profile creation, job interview preparation. For those of you who do marketing, entrepreneurship, we teach sales writing, idea development, website writing, PR, fundraising communication. And those of you who are advisors to CTSOs, student council, yearbook, we teach writing skills as a manager, writing to clients, project management correspondence, public speaking, writing reports, and activities for students in leadership roles. A big menu of various communication skill topics that integrate to your learning management system of choice, whether it's Google Classroom, Canvas, Schoology, Moodle, Blackboard, whatever it is you're on, this content integrates in. So I wanted you to understand, before we dive in today, what it is we do. And some of the free resources come out of our Emerge program that we'll send you if you requested it a few minutes ago. All right, with all that said, let's bring in our special guest. Hopefully Mr. Frieder's still with us. He didn't run off. There he is. All right. So the first thing I'd like to do is have Mr. Frieder introduce himself and give his quick career backstory up to what he's doing today. And then we'll start to ask some questions. And I have a first one ready. But Mr. Frieder, go ahead and tell us who you are. Oh, you're muted.
Oh, here we go. You got me
there
now?
We go. Yes, go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, well, first of all, fantastic, and thank you everybody for joining, and Mr. Rubin, thank you so much for having me on. For those of you who have never gotten the opportunity to meet me before, my name is Michael Frieder. I'm the president of On Call Computer Solutions. I am a veteran entrepreneur going on 20 years, and I started a company called On Call Computer Solutions back in 2003. On Call started a focus in the computer management area for small to mid-sized businesses, and quickly evolved into an organization that really focuses on cybersecurity and particularly cybersecurity and compliance needs of Department of Defense contractors. So for the past 6 or 7 years, our company has really focused almost entirely on the IT and cybersecurity needs, along with compliance for Department of Defense contractors. And we like to say around our office that we are the folks who are defending the people who help defend our country. And that's kind of what we do at On Call. So I can certainly go into as much detail as you like, but just a brief synopsis, that's kind of who we are today and how we got there.
That's perfect. We're going to get into that. And I know the students want to understand, what does the work look like? Like, what are you, when you're defending those who defend, which I love that, what does it actually look like? And we're going to get into that. And by the way, as to that point, for the students and teachers, this will be the right time to start putting your questions in the question box, the question area of Zoom. Put your question, please put the name of your school and the name of the student who asked the question so we can give them proper credit for asking that question. So start putting your questions in the Q&A. And as we do that, I have a question first for Mr. Frieder. And let me ask first the students, those of you who have been here before, when we have a guest, what is the first thing I recommend we always do before we meet somebody new for an interview, for networking, for advice? What do I say we should always do before we meet with that person. It's an R word. Who knows what I'm talking about? Those have been here before. What do I always talk about? And I will say it till the end of time. Anybody remember? There we go. Research. We always do our research. We show we care about other people, so before we can expect them to care about us. And this is what a soft skill looks like in the real world. So what I asked you to do on the worksheet is to visit Mr. Frieder's business website and think of a question you might want to ask. So let me show you. I went to his website before the interview, before today, okay? And I was scrolling around on his services page. And I came to a spot, let me keep my chat back open here, always goes away. There we go. I came to a spot where he's talking about different services, and one of them caught my eye. It says a VCIO. I thought, that's an interesting little word. So, Mr. Frieder, what is a VCIO? What does that mean?
Yeah, so that's a fantastic question. So, in the world of IT, IT professionals are known to be fairly expensive individuals to employ. And one of the services that we offer is something called a Virtual CIO service.
Virtual. Okay.
Yeah. So rather than have to go through the financial burden of employing a full-time CIO person for your company, our company allows for clients to actually come in and take a fractional ownership of one of our IT professionals who can advise them from a CIO level or a sort of executive level, solution building level, as to what they're, how to solve the problems that they have. And yet they don't really have a need, especially if they're a smaller organization or just have one particular task they're trying to accomplish, to have us on full time. So we allow for people to essentially sort of buy us as a fractional service, buy our expertise as a fractional service. So that's what Virtual CIO is all about.
Thank you. And could you mind explaining to me what a CIO stands for?
Yeah, that's a great question as well. So a CIO stands for a Chief Information Officer. And a chief information officer, if you really think of what about information technology is, traditionally information technology has been looked at as how information flows throughout the organization and the technologies that allow it to do so. So it's all about information, right? So everything from what's on my calendar today to, I have to go Google something to learn about something and do some research. All of those things, all the things that you're doing with computers traditionally are all about information. And so, I think that that's one of the key indicators is the chief information officer is the person who is typically in charge and making decisions about how information is flowing throughout the organization and the technologies that it takes to do that.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Can a student tell me in the chat, or a teacher through the student, why it would look impressive to come to a conversation with a new person and already have some questions about the work they do? Can someone tell me in the chat, why would that be? Why would that, how do you think that would make the employer feel if you showed up already doing some homework? How would that make them think about you? Give me that answer as we go along. And I wanted to mention that I didn't know what a VCIO meant. Is it okay? Is it okay as a student or a young adult to ask questions of things I don't know? Can someone tell me in the chat, is it okay to ask questions, be curious, and not just to sit there and say, oh, I shouldn't ask that question. They won't think I'm very smart. Mr. Frieder, wouldn't you prefer to see a young person who is asking questions all the time rather than sitting against the wall without much of a reaction whatsoever?
Yeah, not only would I prefer it, but I'll tell you that the folks who sort of get ahead in life, I think those are the people who know to ask questions, right? So those are the folks that catch our attention internally as far as promotions. Those are the folks who we find to be the best interview candidates. Is someone who really is willing to open themselves up and learn and be open-minded learners.
Wonderful. That's exactly right. So I want students to see that I'm not afraid to ask questions, and I'm not afraid to show that I may not know something because I don't know it. And he told me, and guess what? Now I know it. And that's the beautiful thing about being open to learning. Okay, so we have some good questions already in our Q&A. A question from, I hope I'm saying the teacher name, Jessica Greaser. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. And it may be one of your students, okay? But the question is essentially, how do you know what risks there are in cybersecurity to then even like know to protect a company from them? How do you know what's out there to defend the defenders?
That's a terrific question. I think that most people's journey through IT starts out in the support area. So in other words, problem solving. I know mine did, and I think that as you take the journey through problem solving, your clients or your end users, if you're on a local help desk, they will traditionally tell you what the problems are, and after a while, you begin to see the patterns in those problems. So one way is that you get the experience through helping other people, and you find out what their problems are. Another way is through compliance, and compliance is a very hot topic right now in information security, cybersecurity. There are experts out there who have put together compliance standards on how to properly safeguard people and keep them safe. And so through compliance, rather than having to experience the pain of the problem, oftentimes there are experts out there who will put together compliance standards and say, hey, here is the standard by which you should be securing your systems. And so through those compliance standards, you can learn about how and why they're recommending the solutions that they are. So it's a combination of things. It's an endless journey to learn that.
Absolutely. And can you give us an example? You don't need to use actual names of companies or anything, but just an example of a problem you worked on recently, as they say in business, a fire you had to put out or some security challenge that popped up. Give us an example. Take us inside the work. If you're working in cybersecurity, what are you doing during the day? Give us a snapshot.
Yeah, I'll give you a real life example from yesterday. I can't say the company, but yesterday our team got a call. We have a Department of Defense contractor client who works with us. And one of their users had an email account that got compromised. And our systems, we have some defensive systems, caught the compromise. So they alerted us that there was a problem. This user was sending out an email with a malicious link in it. And that email happened to hit the White House. And so very quickly, the client was called, said, hey, I think you got something wrong. Our systems had already had us alerted and were on the phone with the end user whose account was compromised. And, basically we helped that user reset their password. We helped that user clean up the account. We had to do a trace on any emails that had been sent out for that user to verify who may have been potentially touched by this bad link. We had to find out how the perpetrator got in. We had to make sure the perpetrator was out after we reset their password. And then we had to help the company to follow some Department of Defense laws and properly report the cyber incident to the Department of Defense for further investigation. All of which has to happen in a very rapid period of time. And without that, the company who was breached could potentially be in violation of the legal requirements to report cyber incidents. So that's a real life example from yesterday. Again, got to talk to people from the White House, got to talk with some folks over at the Navy. And, those kinds of things in our business happen every day.
Wow. Thank you very much. I think that helps the students and me too understand, like you say, you work in cybersecurity, IT, like, well, what are you doing, right? Like, what does it the work actually feel like? That's great. We have a really good question here from Kennedy Duncan, Arabia Mountain High School in Georgia. She said, cybersecurity falls within the computer science spectrum. Would it be ideal to major in computer science or information technology? If you were directing students into college or after high school, additional education, what should they focus on in school to ready themselves for this job?
Yeah. So, and I'm always open and honest when I don't know the answer to that question. And in this case, I have knowledge of what used to be a computer science major. I don't know if it's still the case, so I'll take a shot at it. Computer science, a few years ago at least, used to be primarily focused on mathematics and programming. I'll tell you that if you want to become a programmer or you want to work in an area of cybersecurity that might relate to some technical and mathematically complex areas like cryptography, then computer science is definitely the place to go. If you're looking at a career where you're more working with people and you're working to engage with people on, let's say, an advisement level where you're sort of advising them of the right thing to do in various situations they come across on a daily basis, then information technology is definitely the place for you. IT is an area where you are sort of more core to the business. It's more universal in terms of business function. Every business needs great IT people. Not every business really needs great programmers and folks who are, really amazing with things like statistics and custom programming and things like that. So I think a lot of it really depends upon what your personal interests are. Neither is a bad area to go in. Plenty of jobs in either area. I do tend to see that in terms of where you want to be, it really strongly depends upon, how much do you want to program and create versus how much do you want to work with people and manage and advise.
That's a great answer. Very clear, kind of a couple paths you can go down. I like that. All right, we've had this question a few times, so I'll put it out there. Can you talk about the earning potential of careers in cybersecurity? Students are going to lean in on this one. How much can you make in this field? And the most general answer you can give.
Sure. General answer that I can give.
Just throw out some loose numbers here. I know there's a lot of jobs, a lot of it comes with experience, but just give us your take.
Sure. So in my company, I will tell you that a basic help desk person will typically start somewhere around the $45,000 per year plus full benefits range. And then there's a performance benefit based on that. And I'll tell you, my company pays very well. We've got a very aggressive compensation structure. So we're typically bonusing somewhere around $10,000 to $20,000 above that. That is for what I would consider to be, maybe 1 or 2 years of experience after college on a help desk. Our cybersecurity consultants that are going out and doing some of the higher level cybersecurity work are making anywhere between $120,000 and $240,000 per year. And some of our salespeople can make upwards of $500,000 a year. I would not be being myself if I didn't say something to the extent of, if you are one of the brave souls who has an interest in entrepreneurship and you want to build a cybersecurity company, I can promise you the earnings are endless.
That's true. You start your own business and you run your own ship, and you can decide what happens. And there's good and bad to that, but you have a lot of freedom. Did anybody hear I heard some pretty serious numbers there. Can anybody tell me a number that they just heard, a salary number that they heard? Can you tell me in the chat a number that you just heard? Throw one in the chat for me. What'd you hear? I heard some big ones. That's right. I heard 500,000, 120,000. I asked you that question on purpose. If you've been to our webinars before, I'm always focusing you on the numbers, right? When we hear numbers, we remember numbers. Numbers stick out on resumes. Numbers stick out in cover letters. So when you think about numbers that you possess, the amount of hours you've put into a task, the amount of money you earned on a part-time job, the amount of problems you solved, think about your numbers and where they could go in your applications, because they matter a lot. Thank you for that. Okay, we have, let's see, lots of questions here, and they're popping in all the time. Here's a good question from Journey Booker. What is the mindset you need to have while working in this industry? We've talked to nurses. We did a nursing webinar. You have to be, ready for battle. Really, you go into like an ER every day. What is the mindset? Where do you have to be mentally to work in this field? What kind of person, what kind of character or personality do you look for?
That's a very interesting question. So I'll tell you that at my company, we actually do personality testing. Everyone who comes into our company actually goes through a personality test, and we assess how they think. I don't think that there's any one particular mindset to be in, but I'll tell you the folks who are most successful in the companies that I run are people who have a growth mindset. So people, in other words, that are open to the idea of learning continuously, right? There's never, even I as the CEO, like to find myself always learning and always growing and always expanding what I can do and what I know. So I think that anyone with a growth mindset will always really be able to do well. I think people who are detail oriented and meticulous about details are people who are really required in terms of some of the some of the compliance and cybersecurity work that we do. Again, cybersecurity is all about not leaving out the details because the details are when the enemy gets in. So
Ooh,
from that perspective, again, being detail oriented, I think is also very critical.
wow, I love that last line. Who heard that? When you leave out the details, that's when what? The enemy does what? What did you just hear? The enemy what? That is a good line. Yeah. It's you could have 100 checks and it's the 101st thing as the loophole, right? Or the gap. And so you have to have everything locked down. I have a question for you, Mr. Frieder. Teachers will probably understand this. Teachers, raise your hand if your industry partners tell you the students are often very technically savvy, but it's those soft skills where they struggle. Teachers, show of hands. Who hears that from your industry partners, your local community? So tell me about the customer service side of things. It's one thing to know how to solve a technical challenge, but it's another thing to explain it to the end user or provide customer service that's polite and courteous at the same time, right? Because the customer is going to expect to be treated fairly in a kind way, just as much as they want the problem fixed. So how do you advise your team and what do you look for in terms of customer service?
Yeah. So I think the first thing to understand, because that's such a great question, is that it doesn't matter how technically savvy you are. It doesn't matter how smart you are. It doesn't matter how much you know if the intent behind your actions is not in the best interest of your clients or the end users or your customers, whatever you want to call them. And so to that reason, if you want to talk about what the difference is between a guy that makes $45,000 a year and has a problem keeping a job in cybersecurity and a guy that makes $500,000 a year and growing, there's primarily really one difference, and it is that the guy at $500,000 a year knows how to make sure that the client is really well taken care of. I
Mm,
don't think there really is much more difference in terms of
wow.
hard skills, technical skills. Ultimately, when it gets to that kind of earning level, there's lots of people that can do the work. The difference maker is how good are your relationships? How well are you working to take care of the client? And how good is your customer service?
Wow. I want to take us back to this worksheet and a question for the students. If you have it or you don't have it, there's a question at the bottom. If you wrote a thank you note to Mr. Frieder, what piece of advice would you include that he shared? I think what he just shared is one of the biggest pieces of advice, not just in cybersecurity, but really any job, is lots of people can do the job technically, but the best ones have the best customer service. They know how to treat people fairly, treat people like they want to be treated, and they're the ones who go the furthest. So that might be what you want to put in number 4 to answer that question of if you said thank you to him, what might you say back in your message? Because we teach in our program, we don't just write generic thank you notes in our program. We include a piece of advice the person shared with us, and we put it back in our note to make our note extra special too. So I think that was a really great piece of advice. And by the way, if you're putting questions in the chat, please put them in the Q&A. We have about several more minutes of questions. We'll try to get to as many as we can. Another question that I've seen a few times, I think a student named Alex Mendoza is one I saw asked it about, okay, you're in school right now, middle school even, high school, college, and how can you get yourself ready for this space? Where should you look to intern? Or how can you do work on your own to prepare yourself when you apply one day? What would you advise students to do if they want to get themselves ready for this career and they're still in school?
So, I think that there's a lot of different ways. I'll share with everyone here my path.
Please.
When I was in school, there was a pilot program for a company called Cisco. Cisco used to really dominate in the early days of the internet, the backbone of the internet. So basically, all of the network switches and routers, the things that ran the internet, right, the infrastructure. And Cisco was so desperately in need of people to come and work for them that they went into the local high schools and they said, look, we'll give you a free program if you'll just do it, but it's a 2-year program. And the 2-year program was something called a Cisco Certified Network Associate. They still have the program today. And it was a 2-year program. I wanted to go to work so desperately when I was 16 in computers that I went and I accomplished the program in less than 1 year. And I actually, in fact, was the first person in the state of Florida to be certified. And that doesn't make me super smart. That doesn't make me any kind of a unicorn. Anybody on this webinar could do that. The real thing that happened there was that I simply had the desire to get into this industry that badly. I really felt like playing with computers and working with technology was something that I knew I wanted to do, and it sounded a whole lot better than delivering pizza at the time. And so, at the end of the day, I just was willing to do anything, to get a job doing the things that I really found passionate about. So, I think, everybody's got a different path. For instance, what I do today is completely different than what I did 20 years ago when I first started. I fell into this path. I got very fortunate. We had clients that had needs, and we went out there and satisfied those needs in a way that other people just didn't understand how. That was an accident, a very fortunate accident. But in terms of when you're trying to get into this industry, it's tough. A lot of competition. I got to tell you, we have folks from 3 major colleges that try to get interns into our program on a regular rotating basis. We can't take them all. So my advice would be, go find any computer repair shop, any kind of IT management company, even better. Say, hey, listen, I will work for free if you'll just put me to work. That would be what I would advise.
I love that. How many students, show me your hand, how many students believe that if they want to get it bad enough, they can go make it happen for themselves? If you want to go talk to that computer repair shop and work for free, you can do that. It's just a matter of standing up, getting on the phone, or walking into the store with a mask on right now. But you can do this. It's in your control, right? He did it at 16. Today, he runs his own business, doing exactly what he was doing then, right? And he'll probably tell you that he's still just having fun, doing what he likes to do, right? Because I think it's so important at a young age. You already kind of know who you are. And some of you on this webinar, at 16, 17 or younger or older, you already know you like this field. It's kind of in your blood. It's sort of in you. So you can go take steps today to start building your own path. It's in your control. And I'm sure your teacher will be happy to help you. I have a good question here from a teacher, Tina Fitzgerald. She said, I work at a career technology center that offers training in cybersecurity. Do you hire individuals with certifications, but not a college degree?
100%. I got to be careful what I say, right?
I know where you're going. Go ahead.
So the answer is yes, absolutely. I'll tell you that to walk in the door of my company, we value experience. And as we have grown and hired more and more people, one of the litmus tests for us, for example, is something called the CompTIA A+ exam.
That was actually another question. So go ahead.
So CompTIA puts out 3 certifications that I think are not terribly hard or expensive to go after. Those would be a tremendous leg up for someone who is trying to get into the industry to try to get that experience. If you can't find a job, get a certification where you can get some level of hands-on experience and prove to a potential employer that you're serious about coming into this industry. The A+ is a wonderful place to start. It just covers basic computer skills. And I can tell you, I've made hiring decisions based off of that to get people who have never had experience into our company.
That's excellent, because Mr. Bowers, if you're still with us, he asked a question about, he said, my students take the CompTIA exam, and what would that certification mean to you? You just answered that question. Yep. That, no one's passing judgment here saying, go to college, don't go to college. We all make our own decisions, and there's no right or wrong path to take. But he's telling you that if you come there, he said, I'm still here. Please make sure everybody, all panelists and attendees, for your chat. There you go. Got your question in there. No matter where you go, again, it comes down to effort and energy and your own desire to show the world that I'm serious about doing this. And you could get that exam in college. You could get it in high school. You can get it somewhere in between, or not in school at all. It's up to you. But bringing that certification to Mr. Frieder, he already sees you as a potential hire because he knows how hard you're going to work. All right, let's get one last question in here, and then we'll do a little wrap-up exercise together. Let's just sort of pull it all together, Mr. Frieder. We talked about a lot of different things. And again, you have students sitting here who may have taken some steps in this direction. Maybe they're learning about cybersecurity for the first time. You've touched on, go to the repair shop or, just do your own homework. What is sort of your last piece of advice to any sort of aspiring, either cybersecurity business owner or an employee? What's your parting wisdom?
I would probably say, that the one thing I would make sure of is that if you're going to spend 8 to 10 hours a day doing something, make it something that you really enjoy and find challenging. Cybersecurity to me, particularly cybersecurity on the highest level, working with those people who are most under attack, being our Department of Defense contractors, is something that has fulfilled my life in a way that, irregardless of the money, it's something I wake up and truly love to do every day. For me, I also love supporting 20 to 30 plus families that are employed with on-call. I love building businesses. These are things I love. Has nothing to do with the money, has nothing to do even sometimes with the minute day-to-day details of what I'm doing. But if you're out there and you just feel that pull, if you feel a passion for helping people, for, in my case, keeping people protected from some really bad guys out there, when it comes to cybersecurity, or even supporting a terrific cause like our nation's military and their supply chain. Those are the things that just everybody, if you're a member of my team, you are stoked to get up and work every day doing that as opposed to something else. So whatever that might be for you, I would pursue it, and I would pursue it without limits.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for that answer. All right, I want to share a worksheet with everybody. Okay, and this is one of the worksheets that for the teachers who've requested the free materials. This is one of them that we're sending you, and I'll remind you about that offer in a minute. Oh, sorry, this was not the right worksheet. Hold on. let me get back to one. Here it is. It was closed. All right, 1 second. Share. Oh, I turned off his camera. You can turn your camera back on. Sorry, I knocked you out of there. You can stay in with us. Okay. Hopefully you can see this worksheet. Sorry, I had the wrong screen. All right. Let's talk about, as a last little lesson, we teach communication skills in our program, and something that I hope the teachers will appreciate is we have a worksheet around learning the parts of an email. This is for middle school on up, because we can't assume anymore that students know where everything goes in an email. So we have different parts of an email, vocabulary. And down here we have some, let me zoom out a little bit. And down here we have some blanks. Can a student look at these? I want a student to look at these words, look at this line right here. What do you think this line is? What would you put right here? Can someone tell me in the subject line? I just gave away the, you shouldn't teach and lead a webinar like this at the same time. Well, I just said it, but what would you put? Not a score. What word from up here would you put? Thank you. A subject line right here. And what word would we put right here? Let me keep it in the frame. What word would we put right here? What's this? What is this area? A signature line. That's right. And what about this one? What is this area? What is that called? The email body. And what about this? What about this one with the name and good morning? What is that? Thank you. Excellent work. This might seem fundamental, but that's what we do as a company, is we live in the fundamentals, the absolute basics, and we build from there, because we need to make sure that students know where information goes in an email. Let me ask Mr. Frieder this question, because teachers tell us this all the time. Teachers, raise your hand if you've seen an email from a student where the entire email, the message is in the subject line, the entire message, and there's nothing in the message body. And this is not to pass judgment on students, because we all learn, and we're learning today, but we have some hands going up. Mr. Frieder, if you received an email about a job, looking for a job, an internship, something, and the entire message was in the subject line, what would be your first reaction?
Hit the delete key.
Hit the delete key and you're like, I don't know if you're ready to work for me if this is how you send messages to how you send a message to a customer, because this is not how you send a message to a customer in an email. You need to say, you got to learn these skills before you can work for me, right? Like you have to have some of these basics down. What would be your reaction to something like that?
Yeah. I mean, I think to that point, I am in a position where I, on a probably a weekly basis, am making decisions about who to hire, fire, and promote within my organizations. And I will tell you that you just don't make it beyond about a 45 with us unless you have excellent communication skills. Excellent communication skills are the only way that you can deliver great customer service. And it's the fastest way to sink a ship when they're bad. So, I think there are decisions that we make that will take somebody from making $50,000 a year to $150,000 a year. That's life-changing money. And those decisions are often based on simple things like what Mr. Rubin is teaching you guys. So, boy, it's hard to overemphasize how critically important that is.
Thank you. Thank you for echoing that. Okay. For the teachers who missed it at the jump, we always have a basket of resources for you, a bundle. And this time we have some free worksheets and presentations. The one I just showed you is in there. Okay. Several others, like students many times do not capitalize I because we use our texting habits in emails and documents. So we talk about that. And so a set of presentations and worksheets ready to go in a Google folder and a checklist for how to give effective online presentations, a great resource for the teachers or the students or both. And for the teachers who are interested, if you missed this at the beginning, please get my chat going. Please type interested and your email address in the chat right now. We will pass this along. If you're new to our community, we like to have a quick phone call to say hello and to make this material real for you in your classroom. We had a question, can we get free worksheets for students whose teachers are not here? I would encourage you to just email us after the fact. We'll pass it along. So just send us a note after the webinar if you would like any of this material and people are not connected to today. Okay. So again, it's for anybody interested who's new to our community. Please request it. We'd love to give you some ready-made stuff you can take and run with right after today's session and into the spring semester. So thank you for that very much. And we are just a couple minutes shy of 1:15. We always try to end on time. It's so important that we are punctual and that we stick to what we say we're going to do. Mr. Frieder, what do you think about when someone says they're going to do something? How important is it that they do exactly what they say they're going to do? And nothing that you're not expecting?
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think there is anything more important. As a matter of fact, it's actually something that is written directly into our company culture statement.
You do what you say you're going to do. And
right.
Because that's what people are either paying you for or they're coming for, they're expecting. If we say we're going to finish at 1:15 Eastern, then that's what we intend to do as much as it is possible, because you all have schedules, you have other things to do. Just like Mr. Frieder provides a service, he's trying to diffuse this email hack yesterday, and they have other business they have to do also, right? Like they're going to stop and deal with this, but they have other things going on. And this sort of pulled them away from what they were trying to do. So they expect him to come in, his team to come in and fix the problem as best they can, as timely as they can, and then let them get back to what they do so that they know that next time they can count on him to do it just like he did before. And that's what we try to do in our sessions. So can we have a hands up? It'll be like a virtual applause. Hands up for Mr. Frieder. Can we just show our appreciation for his time today? How many students felt like they learned something today about this industry? Raise your hand with a lot of hands up. 50, 60 hands, lots of hands. We all learned something today about this industry. I thought it was some really good stuff. Like we really want to get below the surface. Give me those real honest truths. And I think Mr. Frieder gave us that. D. Strauss says, my students are raising their hands. And that's through Google Meet, I think. So thank you to Ms. Velasquez for her sign language services. Thank you, Mr. Frieder, for all of your time. Thank you to the students and teachers for being here. And again, a reminder that on the 25th of March, we're doing social media marketing. I hope you'll all join us then for another great conversation. Bring lots of good questions. Until then, stay safe out there wherever you are, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.